Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That is right, it is Your Impact Attack. Who are you? Who are we? What is the Impact Attack indeed? It is the VBC makes this thing go around. We're the battery that runs the Impact Attack. And who are they? Who's a VBC? What is a VBC? Is this just another wrestler that's about to do a job on a AEW program? No, it is me. Hello, I'm Jamie Williams. I'm the vet. That's a V. Okay. Over here is Brandon. That's a B. He's my tag team partner, so I always tag him through the internet. Give him the hot tag, burns his hand, but he gets over it quickly and blows a comeback. What's up, Brandon?
Yo, what is up, pal? We just had a great first half of the Raw watch along. Oh man, we're hanging, we're chilling, keeping the vibes going. Get ready to talk some Impact, pal. Yeet yeet.
Yes, sadly. And we've also got the C with us, of course. They are always with us here. We couldn't do it without them. Well, actually, we could, but we'd rather not. We appreciate them too much. And who do we have with us joining us? Probably from that aforementioned Raw watch along.
Well, you like to talk about the four horsemen of the chat. I think we got us a four horsemen plus the JJ Dillon tonight. We got Cold Blooded, we got Liz, we got Javi Uchiha, we got Lab Rat, we got Gam. How y'all doing? Whoop whoop.
That's quite a crew. And yeah. So here we are once again. And that means it's a Monday night. We got to talk about some TNA. We got to talk about a couple things. And we should get right to it. Without any further ado, we would definitely like to offer our condolences to the family and friends of Terry Brunk, aka Sabu, who we unfortunately lost just the other day. I mean, doesn't it? It always comes as a shock, even if things aren't going well. It kind of sucks when you hear it. Like we heard about Kevin Sullivan, for instance, being in bad health, and we were all just assuming or hoping that he'd kick out again, but then even though after you've heard that he's in bad health, then when you hear that he passes, it's still kind of a shock. You just don't want to say goodbye. And so to get the bad stuff out of the way first, if anybody saw the what a way to go out in your last match that you're ever going to have with the spring break Joey Janela GCW barbed wire no rope match. That if anybody watched that, which I kind of felt like I had to, even though I didn't want to. And I mean, I watched it today, I didn't watch it when it happened. And you could definitely tell that Sabu was not doing well for whatever reason. It was awkward, and I don't want to, besides being brutal, so I don't want to like harp on that too much, but it was just a case of like, oh wow. But I don't think anybody would have seen that and thought, well, it's over now. I think it's just one of those sad things that you see. You don't want to remember people like that. You don't want to see them. It was kind of like, it reminded, like, I immediately thought of like, Randy the Ram Robinson from The Wrestler, except, Randy the Ram was still at least somewhat, at the end of the movie, he kind of looked like he could go still, So it was like that. It was kind of sad, and I didn't want to see that. But if that was all it had been, okay, but now it's too tragic. So I did want to mention that, because I know people are going to think about that, and they hear that Sabu passed. Anybody that saw this or was aware of it is probably going to make that connection, So I did want to acknowledge it, but I mean, let's talk about let's talk about the man himself. Let's talk about Sabu and let's celebrate Sabu a little bit. Um, Brandon, I've been talking for a little bit, so I'll pass it over to you and just you know everything you want to say from first time seeing Sabu, what you thought of the gimmick, and then any other stories or personal feelings or whatever that you want to share about Sabu.
Uh, my first introduction to Sabu is kind of a very weird, odd, and unique one. I think it was sometime in 2000. I had rented WrestleMania 2000. And because you know how it is when you're renting stuff, they don't clear the saves, they leave stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they left a creator wrestler in there of Sabu. And me, my brother, and my friends were like, okay, this dude looks cool. His moveset is cool. And we played as him and kept him on there because of how cool he was. And then later on, I learned about who the actual, okay, this was the actual wrestler. Okay, so we thought it was something that somebody had made up for the game. But then I went and actually looked him up, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then I got to see him in TNA. Saw him when he came to WWE for their ECW thing. I thought he had a great match with John Cena, if you remember that one.
I mean, I don't specifically remember it.
And then I did have one personal interaction with him when there was a show. I think it was 2013, because I actually it's kind of a bit of a weekend story. So, see, there's a show I was booked on Friday for this company called Future Independent Stars of Wrestling Fist.
Mm.
And I even have the shirt from that show that I got as, oh, we don't got enough money to pay tonight. Here's a T-shirt.
Hot dog and a handshake, pal.
Yep. And during that show, Sabu wrestled on it, and they're doing like a tournament for like the first champion or whatever. It was like, I think it was like 4 singles matches, and then the winners met in a 4-way in the main event. And one of the singles matches was Sabu against a known local wrestler named Rat Boy.
Mm.
Well, I think the move was at some point, Rat Boy was on the mat, and he took the flipping leg drop from Sabu, gave him his face, made sure his face was like, okay, you're gonna land right on my face. And then when Sabu hit it, he laughed it off. And then as soon as that happened, you could see like Sabu's demeanor kind of change, like, okay, I'm gonna start, you think you're gonna no sell it and laugh it off? I'm gonna start laying it in for real. And he beat the shit out of him, but I think that was the intent, because there was a point after that we were talking before we went on the air. There was a point during that match where there was a chair set up in the middle of the ring, and Sabu did a drop toe hold on this guy with where he's going towards the back of the chair, and Rat Boy took the bump like this. So basically, like, he gave as much of his neck as possible to the open end back part of the steel chair.
Basically, the part that they hit everybody with when they grab the chair and jab somebody, right? The top of the seat.
Yep. I remember standing next to several people like, he's really taking it like that? Like, yep. And he went right across his throat. But from interacting with Sabu that night, like, he was having a conversation with a couple of the boys, and he was welcoming to everybody who came in, just wanted to stop and listen, ask questions. My interaction with him that night, he was a super cool guy, and now he seemed pretty chill. And from the stuff that I watched about him, the stories I've heard from people who were inspired by him, he really was one of those game changer guys who, he was a needle mover for the entire wrestling business.
Yes. So as Scott Woodford has kindly donated a super chat here. He says Sabu is a great guy. I had many meals with him on the Jericho cruise and became friends with him and his business manager. Yeah, not a lot of people have much bad to say about Sabu the person. Um, I unfortunately did not. I don't believe I met Sabu. I don't think. If I did, it was very. It must have been a very brief, like just the I'm a wrestler, I have to shake everybody's hand thing. But I don't even. I feel like I would have remembered that even. So I don't think we ever crossed paths. So I don't have any personal stories. I could tell you that he's one of those guys that the reputation preceded him because even in the pre-internet era, even kind of like, you know, when ECW was first sort of gaining traction as a rebel promotion from the Northeast, you know, there was like I remember I remember when they did like the Raw invasion in whatever it was, 96 or 97. I think it was 97. Um, and this was like I guess it was in the height of like the Sabu and Taz feud, which I had no idea of. But you could turn on Monday Night Raw and see signs that would say things like Sabu fears Taz, you know? Like that's the earliest memory I've ever seen of the so and so fears so and so signs. Um so like whatever a Sabu was, I had heard of it before I ever saw him. And when he actually showed up on Raw, was it not him who jumped off the Raw sign?
Indeed, it was.
So he's going to make an impression because he was doing things like that when nobody, nobody really was, I don't think. I think the origins of like a lot of the things that you see um that you would see was kind of like Sabu, and he was doing that like on the independents as well. Uh Huge for the independent. He was a huge independent attraction, you know, that then went on to, international fame. But what were you about to say?
Yeah, Cold Blood brought up the Sabu falling off the Raw set. That's one of the most iconic. Like if you think back to iconic Raw moments in history, one of them was done by somebody who was part of the ECW roster.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, man, he was hugely influential on a lot of people, and I think, um, you guys all know that like I not a fan of the kind of stuff that we see today or the stuff that we're going to talk about. Maybe not so much this episode of Impact, but like, the the what was that pay-per-view? I can't keep all these pay-per-views. The one before Rebellion, whichever one had the,
Unbreakable.
Yeah, Unbreakable. Um, like shit like that. We don't get as much of that without Sabu, probably. Even though I'm not saying that Sabu invented all this stuff, but like people see that and they want to imitate that. And they don't, they couldn't do all the things that Sabu could do because his uncle was the original Sheik. Um, and he was brought into the business by his uncle and taught by his uncle. And, um, and then he, of course, brings in Rob Van Dam too, like, so that's a thing. Um, but, uh, but yeah, like Sabu knew what he was doing and he chose to do the things that he did. He chose to take those, you know, incredibly impressive, but yet very dangerous bumps that he took. And, that definitely took a toll. But I mean, he could do all those things and he could also do anything else you wanted him to do, but nobody would want to see him do that. That's why he was an attraction, because no one wanted to see him put a hammerlock on. They wanted to see him go through a table outside the ring, from 20 feet out or whatever. So, he was also one of those cautionary tales of like, if you get over with the people by doing this, that's what they're going to want to see from you. And it had to go on for way too long. And again, to go back to that GCW match, I don't know if you guys watched it. I don't know if you saw it, Brandon, but fuck.
Did not.
There was a couple of things he had no business doing anymore because you don't need to. And by the way, I don't want to turn this into a, you know what? I'm just going to stop myself. I'm not going to do it. Hit me up later if you want to know. I was about to cut a promo on that entire promotion. So, but anyway, I want to stay on topic and stay on Sabu and talk about, how important he really was, how influential, even if the influences may have ended up being more bad than good, you can't really know that at the time you're doing it. Most people aren't going to take the entire weight of the industry on their shoulders and their responsibilities. They're just thinking about how can I get over? And that's what he did. And he definitely did. And he became so iconic, and, he's even influenced it to the point where people are seeing stuff that he did that they don't even know that he did now, because of the generations of people that continue to watch pro wrestling and watch the newer people come in and do all that stuff. But so simple to get over, and get over without saying anything too, That's another thing. He never really talked till he was forced to, but we'll just say he never really talked and still got over. Which, if I was to say, if you were to ask me what Sabu's legacy is, it would be that in storytelling in general, in a lot of facets of storytelling, of which pro wrestling is one, mystique is often very important and also very underappreciated and underutilized. People want to explain everything. They want to over explain. They want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on, but sometimes if you're good, you can tell people what's going on without saying anything. And Sabu is definitely the embodiment of the mystique, because people probably really thought he couldn't talk, or that he really was crazy, or, that he really was, Arabian or whatever. Like, whatever he looked like he was, because you had nothing else to go on, you probably thought he was. And now, in an era where we're doing press conferences where in one breath we'll tell you that this whole show is phony and everything is phony, and then the next breath John Cena comes out and acts like this shit is real and puts R-Truth through a table, and we're supposed to think that that's, when we're sitting there confused, like, wait a minute, why we have to pretend John Cena's real when everybody else just came out and said it wasn't? That's where we are in 2025. But in 1995, we were thinking that Sabu was a crazy person, from the desert somewhere that was genocidal. So mystique goes a long way, and we need it back. So that's really all I can say. That's I didn't prepare anything, so I just had to wing it. I hope it was okay.
I do have an addendum to the story of that weekend.
Please.
So I worked another show that night, and then all of a sudden, Sabu comes into the locker room through the back door. It's like, hey, all right, I'm here to do the seminar and a wrestling night, and everybody's like looking at him like, huh, wait, what? Even the promoter's like, we didn't book you. What's going on? And he said, oh yeah, the guy who booked me last night said, yeah, he talked with you guys. I'm here to do a seminar and work tonight. He never said anything to us. So the promoter for Fist had apparently, or allegedly, lied to Sabu, saying, "Hey, yeah, I got you hooked up here. You're gonna do a seminar. You're gonna work the main event." And he was pissed when he found out that he got played.
Oh man. Well, then what happened?
He
didn't do a seminar, did he?
No, because unfortunately, no. Yeah, because he was never booked for one. Like he was like close to. I think it was like close to showtime when he got there.
Well, yeah, I know. I was kidding. Of course, he didn't do a seminar.
Yeah, and then the next night I think was Extreme Rules 2013. And as me and my grandfather are walking to the arena, that same promoter that had pulled this is handing out flyers for like something else he's got coming up. I'm thinking like, dude, if Sabu finds you, if he finds you.
He puts one on Sabu's car unknowingly. Yeah. That's funny. Well, I hope everything is better for Sabu where he is now. Some other news, though, reportedly from TNA, obtained by Fightful Select, which, that's the premium version. And I'd like you to think back to last week when we discussed this topic and what I said then, if you remember or if you watched. About the whole blood thing. Fightful Select is reporting that TNA management has decided to implement the new rules because things had gone overboard recently. You think? The report added that wrestlers bleeding would mean more if it happens sporadically should the promotion decide to allow wrestlers to cut themselves again.
Yeah, I know. Why? Yeah, use it at the height of the peak of feud to put more fuel on the fire and put more heat on it and make it even more spectacular. And keep it special instead of blowing your load every week.
Another reason why TNA may have decided to change the rules is that they're trying to sell their broadcast rights, and the no blood policy would make it easier to sell it to potential broadcasters. I don't know if that ever factors into a negotiation with broadcasters. Like, you've seen the stuff that's on TV, right? Like what about what advertisers are saying like, no one's gonna bleed, are they? We hate that.
Give me that scene with Negan and Glenn, pal.
Right. Another report had previously claimed that TNA's decision could have been to attract more advertisers to their product, while the move may have been made to follow WWE's policy with whom they have a partnership presently. TNA also reportedly made the decision taking into consideration the health of their performers. So this is kind of like a big bunch of duh, basically. Because we already told you this last week, why they would have done it, or even speculating why they would have done it. But it doesn't matter why they say they did it. We know why they did it. We're about to talk about it when we get to the main event of this week's show, is why they did it. And that's the only reason that they did it. It has nothing to do with any of the other stuff that they just said. It's because they saw what happened and they were like, fuck, that looks terrible.
I will add in there, I think the Sami Callihan Mance Warner match at the last show or the show before, or Unbreakable might have factored a little bit into that too. Like, okay, this much, this back to back. Yeah, no, we're done.
Yeah, maybe. But even if that match never happened, they still would have done this because look at it. um, they
Look
didn't
at
really
him.
bleed that much in the hardcore match comparatively. It was more just the outrageous, spots that they were doing, not so much like the gallons. Um,
Yeah. To be fair, yeah, there was way more blood in the chain match. Way more blood.
so it's visual. It's a visual thing that they don't want. And it's not that they really they don't care about the health of the performers because it's nothing to do with health. It Steve Macklin wasn't hurt, you know, but it was just that it's too much and they know what people will say. Like they don't want that heat, so they're just not going to do it. But anyway, yeah, I did have to mention that because Fightful Select charged you for that information. Um,
And then Tony
so
Storm would be like, I've had worse periods, darling.
yes, exactly. Yes, she would. So I don't have any other news. Just those couple of things. One of them was pretty a big thing, but yeah, I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else that we need to discuss? Any other happenings? I mean, it's very possible I could have overlooked something.
Nah, not a whole lot on the news front.
All right. Well, if you guys think of anything, then let us know. But with that, then I guess we can get right into this impact review. Uh what do we have here? It looks like Brandon and TNA think alike because we have a ketchup packet to start us off. All right. And guess who else we're starting off with? Trick Williams from NXT. What's Trick Williams doing in the Impact Zone? He doesn't work here. So Trick is here. He's got security with him. He gets in the ring. He says his name. He appears. Joe Hendry comes out, beats up the security. There's a pull apart. Trick Williams escapes. More security comes in. Joe Hendry beats up the more security. Gives a standing O to one of the security guards. Yes. Do you like this sort of? Do you like this for Joe Hendry? Like the beating up security. The guy that sings the funny songs is beating up security now. Do you like that or no?
I don't think he's been pushed far enough for him to do that yet.
Yeah, I that's kind of what I was thinking too. But even if he was pushed pretty far, maybe he should just write a more grim song.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Well, like with the heat between him and Trick, I think I still let the song and music video parody portion of Joe Hendry getting back at him.
Right. But, I don't know if it's like, is this just them thinking like, you got to be taken seriously as a champion now. You got to do the spot where you have pull aparts and beat up security as a babyface. Like, is that where we're at?
Yeah, this is where some of the bad WWE tropes are starting to trickle in.
Yes, which TNA since its inception has already been compiled. It's been a pastiche of bad WWE tropes the entire time. So really, in some ways, nothing has changed. Only that WWE's made it official now. All right. Robert Stone and Victoria are ready to game plan. They're not game planning yet. They're getting ready to game plan. Then they walk off and presumably they have a game plan. And then our first match is Rosemary versus Lei Ying Lee, and the other Zaya is on commentary, and they're trying to tell this story of like Rosemary is only doing this for the good of the team, I guess, the group. She's like trying to. I really am not sure, but Zaya's like defending Rosemary, I guess, and they have the match, and there's a spot where Rosemary wants to use the brass knuckles, which one put a pin in that. Wants to use the brass knuckles. Zaya Brookside gets up and is like, "No, don't use the brass knuckles. We're all friends." And then she turns around, gets the thunderstruck. 1, 2, 3. Lei Ying Li wins. Rosemary loses again. Zaya's like, "Come on, be a good girl," or whatever her point is. So yeah, the story is just that Rosemary's trying to corrupt Zaya Brookside, who has an angel motif. So it only makes sense that, you know, Rosemary the demon would try to corrupt, but in a nice way. Now, you get more flies with honey, I suppose.
But you get more honeys if you fly.
Hey. Yeah, all three of these ladies are fly honeys, I guess. Brandon, what did you think of this whole everything?
It didn't really advance anything. It just felt like we're in the same place we were at last week.
Well, I think Lei Ying Li is going to be a little more upset when she finds out that Rosemary tried to punch her with metal on her hands.
If they follow up on that next week.
If they won't. I would like to see, this is what I would like to ask. Rosemary is, to put it in layman's terms, and, you know, with the upcoming early access release of Doom, the Dark Ages, which you can see me play like right after we get done here later tonight, on Twitch at Opinion Haver, if you want to see Doom the Dark Ages before anybody else. But to put it in terms that, you know, that we can all understand based around that, Rosemary's a demon from hell, right? I mean, that is what I've been led to believe. You know, she could be in Doom as a playable character, is what I'm saying. So, of all things, why do you have brass knuckles that you're trying to use as a weapon when you could use literally anything as a weapon that you're trying to hit somebody with in the match? You could have just some weird artifact that it's just like, what is that thing that she's trying to hit her with? It doesn't matter why is she like a fucking, you know, somebody that's trying to bust up a union at the docks or something in the 1920s? Like, what
Zoot
what the fuck is,
riot.
what year is this? I don't get it. Brass knuckles, really. It's weird enough that in 2025 anybody would be using brass knuckles at all. Like, where do you even find that? I know you can order anything on the internet, but like, that's the thing. Like, same thing with the kendo stick. It's just these things that people have always had. And this is your chance to be somewhat creative, and it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. You could just grab anything, and if it just looks weird, it makes sense that Rosemary did it. Remember, Rosemary used to bring a knife to the ring. Remember that?
She
It's a
could
kitchen butcher knife.
Yeah, and she's not using it, so you can pull it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to try to kill you.
But
and the ref is going to wonder, why is there a dead body in the ring now when he turns back around? But at least that's something she's done before. But the brass knuckles, you know, those demonic brass knuckles. She didn't even dress up the brass knuckles like with weird, like jagged red and black spikes, and just like she could have made anything into a pair of knuckles. And she just had the regular brass. All right, enough.
I'll say this much: if they did a murder angle on TV, if they followed it up with like a police chase again, if they followed up with a police chase that led to the heels crossing the border into Mexico, okay, I'll believe it.
Yeah, and only then. Speaking of that, Mike Santana. I'm kidding.
Yeah, he's Puerto Rican, pal. Come on.
I know he's not. I just, come Uh, but anyway, yeah. So Santana's walking down the hall. He passes Trick. They size each other up, and then they move on. He puts his sunglasses back on and keeps walking. Then he finds a stairwell that's got Sammy Callahan and his friend John Goblicon. This is my friend John Goblicon. That's what he says. That's literally what Sammy Callahan says, and he says it just like that. Hey, Mike, I want you to meet my friend John Goblicon.
Going, but when I did the punching up, and I had to go back and read one of the reports, they actually mentioned who this dude is. Apparently, he's a part of a band like that dresses up like goblins.
Yes, yes. Surprising. I don't know if this is going to shock anybody, so brace yourselves. But it's like a metal band. It's a death metal band that has a lead singer. It's a goblin.
Have you
So
ever
yeah,
heard...
they're just sitting in the stairs because that's what you do when you're a goblin.
Speaking of like weird death metal bands, you ever heard of a Ned Flanders themed death metal band called O Killy Do Killy?
I just did now. Sounds great. They all wear sweaters.
They have the sweaters, the push broom mustaches, the glasses.
Not bad. Colbo was gonna say. I was gonna say old school bluegrass. Yeah, they should. He should. John Goblicon and Steve Martin should do an album. Anyways, while they're having a friendly chat, here comes Coach Class. And side note, Casey Navarro is trying to get "Pardon Me" over as a catchphrase. How do you feel about that?
Well, pardon me while I burst into flames. I've had enough of this place. I know I'm fucking it up from there, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. He wasn't doing it that. It was the band Goblin Cock. It's probably Scott Woodford. It probably is without listening to it. I don't want any of the algorithms to think that I want to see anything from that, so I didn't listen to any of the music, and it's bad enough I had to Google it. But yeah, he's trying to get "Pardon Me" over. I just don't know if it's gonna work. I know he's only doing it because no one else is, but there's a reason no one else is. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's something generic it's tough to get something generic like that over. You're not Chris Jericho.
No. And Chris Jericho doesn't get things over either. Like there's plenty of things on his, his miss list. But yeah, so anyway, they joined for some awkward TV. And also apparently to invite Sammy Callahan to join First Class. Cuz everything about this fat bum sitting in the stairs that's as wide as he is tall it says First Class to AJ Francis, I guess.
Well, he had an explanation. You're a former world champ. You should be with us.
Yeah. I guess when you put it that way, it's totally fine. You wear a hat, I wear a hat. You wear yours backwards, but we should be a tag team. What are you, a smartass? Yeah, Tony Gurria would make them a team.
I give that team 5 Gurrias.
Yep. 5 Gurrias out of 5. We might have to give it a 6.5 Gurrias. Especially if
in the Tokyo Dome.
If in the Tokyo Dome. And it can get even more because Sammy's hat is backwards, his cap is backwards, and AJ wears his forwards, and they could call their team Sherlock Holmes. I don't know. Look, there's a reason I don't do creative. Anyway, I'd like you all to know that will you work for Cheez-Its? Yes. Yes, Lab Rat, I will. Well, you have to test them first. If it's any of the weird flavors, like I don't want the Tabasco ones to be too hot, so you'll have to try them first.
The toasted ones are actually pretty decent. Like they're the closest to like the OG cheeses that I've had that are different than the original ones.
Yeah. I mean, I'll eat any Cheez-It. I just don't because they're not good for you. Nothing that orange can be good for you.
Brother.
So you know that. Yeah. But they are tasty. I understand why he's the champion of them and why he's shaped the way he is. So, I would like you guys to know that Daria Baronato will be at Invicta doing commentary. I know you all just said, who? But it's Sonya Deville is what you would know her as. And in case you never listened to her talk for 5 seconds, she used to do MMA. And she's a lesbian. Just so everybody knows. now you know everything.
Wasn't she supposed to be part of that 4 MMA horsewomen that came into WWE and NXT that was supposed to try to go against, like, I think looked like they were trying to build to like what was it? It was Becky, Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha. Against it was Ronda, Shayna, Marina Shafir. I forgot who the other one was.
Jessamine Duke.
Jessamine Duke, yes.
Yes, no, she was never part of that. I'm talking about Sonya Deville now. She was never.
Okay, I'm tripping balls then. I'm thinking of something different then.
Mm-hmm. What you probably think is when she was like, I should be having matches with Ronda Rousey because I used to do MMA. Like on social media or whatever. That maybe you're thinking of that. But anyways, all right. Now, speaking of awkward television, next is the makeover segment. You can say whatever you want about this, or you can pass. I'm fine with you passing also, but I will just say this. After I saw this, and I did see it, after I saw this, it's time for more firings. We need more firings now. TNA just let some people go from the office and everything, and Gail Kim and all that. You guys clearly aren't done, because after this, somebody needs to go. Somebody else needs to go. I'm done. No, nothing. Okay.
It was rough.
Yeah. But you know what? To think that the great hands could wash the taste of anything out of your mouth. That's how bad that segment is. But here come the great hands, and they're going to take on the Aztec Warriors. Hey,
Aztec
nice
Warriors,
to see the
Aztec Warriors.
Aztec Warriors.
No, Leroy. I'm bilingual, as there's a difference.
So, of course, I don't think anybody will be too surprised to learn that the Great Hands did not win this match. But that did cause Ali to snap and, beat up everybody. And then the Rascals run out to stop him from his one-man rampage. And then they go to break because actually it's time for Trey Miguel versus Ali now in a singles match. And this singles match, of course, feature lots of shenanigans. And yeah.
Because why wouldn't you throw all these people who are just fighting each other before all this started? No, you're all going to the back.
Pretty much. I forget what happened here, and I didn't write it down. What was the finish of this?
Let me go back and look. I want to say Ali went over.
Yeah, he went over. He went over. I just don't remember what move he did or whatever. I don't know if he did anything different. But the announcers were saying this is or at least Ray Walt was saying this is a new Ali. So if that's the case,
let's see. Here's the write-up. Ali tossed Wentz into the ring post. Trey hit Ali with a tope tornado DDT. After Tasha distracted the referee, the Great Hands chokeslammed Trey back first into the apron.
yep,
Ali hit
right.
Trey with a leg trap Blade Runner for the victory.
Okay. So yeah, that happened. Yeah, the power bomb on the apron. It looked bad. I mean, it looked like it hurt, is what I mean.
Yeah, that looked rough. I remember that. I remember watching that going, ooh, how's your spine, pal?
All right, well, so what do you think of the new Ali?
Same as the old.
Are you
Except
sure?
a little bit
He looks
more.
his face looks more distraught.
I mean, he looks like he's a little few screws loose, but not really that much different.
All right. Well, you get a good chance to compare and contrast because for some strange reason, they played the match from Under Siege last year of Ali versus Ace Austin for the X Division Championship. As far as I can tell, they played this match in its entirety. So we're doing like mid-year clip show preview. Like, get ready for the holidays. It's going to be a lot of this.
Well, I did not realize, now you mentioned, I did not realize that went that long because I was doing the punching up. It's like, okay, where did all this extra time come from? I didn't really compress any of these matches or condense any of these matches. Like, where does extra time come from that I'm finding? Oh, yeah, I condensed that package to a minute.
Yeah, or you would just delete it because what the fuck? Who cares? And furthermore, even if you wanted to play a match from Under Siege last year because Under Siege is coming up, and even if you wanted to play Ali's match, why would you play two Ali matches back to back?
You know, why not do this? Like, okay, for Ali coming up later on tonight, here's something he did last year with Ace Austin.
Yeah, quick highlight reel. Couple moves, the finish.
15 seconds. That's all you need. 15-second little highlight clip.
Like I said, more firings. More firings are needed. We're not done cleaning house here. We've still got some clutter apparently left in a closet in the back corner somewhere. Gimmick injury report, and all this is, they don't give you any injuries. They just show a digital exclusive of Burt Macklin saying, "Hey, Eric Young, I think we should have a dog collar match." Okay. Took him a while to say it too, but he eventually got there. So I'm proud of him. And then, okay. Now we get a package on Indy Hartwell. She doesn't just want to be a knockout, Brandon. She wants to be the knockout. I don't know if you know that. Here's something I didn't know. She's a fellow former Toys R Us employee. However, unlike me, who was selling Matt Cardona the toys, she was buying the toys with her discount. And the belts. And the little toy belts, too. She was an adult who got a job at Toys R Us and bought the toy belts.
You know, to be fair, I really can't say anything about that because I, to this day, still guilty of that very same thing because I will take my money that I make at the end of the night at work, and then I'll use get the employee discount because it's cheaper.
No, Brandon, that's not the same thing. You're being smart. You can eat the food and live. Don't ever put yourself in the same boat as this Mark. Okay? You're not a Mark for pizza. You're surviving. Big difference. And the money's going to get spent. It doesn't really matter if because I know some people have that mentality. This is a little sidebar. I know people have the mentality that like if you spend the money where you work, it's like you're just giving it back to them. But it doesn't matter because the money has to get spent. It doesn't matter if you spend it at the gas station, buying an overpriced, whatever, or whether you buy food from the place that you work. You're losing that money. It doesn't matter where. And it doesn't matter if they paid it to you first and you give it back. The money's gone from you. So if you're giving yourself a deal, that's the right thing to do. So don't listen to anybody else that would say different. However, toy wrestling belts and figures are not necessarily, well, they're not necessary, is what I'm trying to say. So that's kind of funny. When I worked at Toys R Us, I would see the Major Brothers come in looking for toys. And I remember Elijah Burke going over and playing, like going to the R Zone, which was the electronics section, and playing a demo of SmackDown versus Raw. And, that was funny.
That was what I loved about Toys R Us. Was like you could go play the games there. It's like almost like a free arcade.
Kind of. So, anyways, so that is, but hey, we're siblings in the red and khaki. So, anyways, but she did say there was another note I made on this package. She used some interesting phrasing because when she wanted to talk about the part in her journey where she got released from the WWE, the phrase that she chose to use was, she was talking about wrestling and how it's been her dream and she was living her dream. And then she said, and I quote, "It was all taken away from me." Now, Brandon, I'm pretty sure that the WWE didn't necessarily take anything away from you, because here you are and they know you're here. And it's a weird thing to say about a company that basically gave you more spotlight than you honestly probably ever deserved. And even though it wasn't that much, that is more of a commentary on you. The toy belt purchaser. So I think it's weird that she chose to say that. I don't know why you couldn't have said something like, I was on top of the world 1 minute, but then I was, like the WWE told me they didn't need me anymore or something like that. And then that motivates you to like, I'm going to go out there and show them, and it's all above board because it's true. And many people have done that. I mean, Drew McIntyre did that, right? So why can't you say that? Why do you have to say it was all taken away from me? It wasn't. They let you go and then you started accepting bookings. So nothing was taken from you.
I could kind of get why she'd feel that way if she knew that her release was for political purposes and she knew the players involved in that happening. And knew it was because, again, just throwing speculation out there. So, someone stooged something, someone did something, went out of their way to make sure that she was gone. That didn't want her there.
Yeah.
And that could be how she feels. I don't know. Again, I'm just spitballing. I'm grasping for logic here.
Well, yeah, don't grasp too hard. Don't pull something reaching, because it's like
it's got a hernia.
Yeah, they're still watching you now. Remember, this isn't like TNA the independent. This is TNA the WWE whipping boy now. So they're seeing everything that you're saying, and they just don't have room. They just don't have room for an Eddie Hartwell. They don't. They never did. Not in NXT even. There was too many people in NXT that are way, way, way better than her, and I'm sorry. I'm sure she's a nice person. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about from a business sense, what am I going to do with you? You're not even the fifth best Australian I have. Why what do I need from Indy Hartwell? Again, that sounds harsh. But this, even in TNA, is like, oh boy. So I'm giving TNA, look, I'm giving Indy a clean slate. If I'm going to watch her now, and I'm going to judge her fairly with a clean slate. Let's see what you've learned, Indy. Let's see what you can do on your own. Let's see what you can do when you're not under that WWE, let's just say, controlling sort of environment.
Let me hit the conspiracy button. Do 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 do. What if they told her, "Hey, we're gonna let you go. We're still gonna keep you. Once your no compete expires, we'll tell our people in TNA sign you. That's your opportunity. Sink or swim, kid."
Yeah, it could have very well been that. Which, if that is the case, that just makes your word choice of they took it all away from me a little more odd. I'm just saying, when you guys are crafting your, even if somebody's writing this for you or whatever, or helping you, think about those things. Think about those aspects of that. Think about how anybody can use your words against you and give them the least amount of ammunition to do that. Don't give people like me, who is actually has nothing against Indy Hartwell. I'm sure she's heard a ton of worse stuff from a lot meaner people than I am. And I'm sure she's used to it. But don't give them anything to use against you either. Nothing. Always be looking at this whole thing is wrestling is phony, and you're trying to sell people on a character. So do the best job at every aspect that you can, even if you think it's a minute detail. Everything's about the details. So, anyways, like I said, I will watch you, Indy, and I will reevaluate the next thing I see. The Hardys, on the other hand, we already know we're getting with them by this point. So they do a promo in the ring. It's like a standard wrestling promo. It'd be like if you said, "Hey, cut a 2-minute wrestling promo," and with a Hardy flavor. And then the Zigglers come out, and they sort of try to rebut that promo, and they say that they want it's going to be it's the Hard Boys. That's right, the Hard Boys. They're going to make they want a ladder match at Under Siege for the tag team titles, which why the heels would want a ladder match, I don't know. But I guess they thought it was because Jeff couldn't go to Canada. So it's like, we're challenging you to your specialty match, but you can't have your specialty match, so too bad. I guess that was the psychology there. And then
the whole thing with dangle it in front of you, then yank it away.
Yep. So Santino comes out and he says that yes, Jeff can't go to Canada, but he can make a match with Jeff versus Dolph for next week, and then Matt Hardy can choose a partner to help him try to, retain or regain the tag team championships at Under Siege. So mystery partner for Matt.
My money's on Leon Slater.
Well, it kind of has to be, doesn't it?
I mean, it makes the most sense. They've kind of been grooming him as their protege.
Unless they can get some bigger name for a one-off. But
Stand
failing
back.
that, yeah, pretty much. All right. Hey, now we have my old friend Victoria Crawford returning to the ring after a long absence, taking on Brittany Brooks, who we are told is Chris Bay's girlfriend. All right, there you go. Robert Stone's on commentary for this. The match is, well, it's short, and old Vixie she's getting her bearings back. Let's just put it that way. She's got to work on her footwork, like as far as like the space in the ring, because she's still a little bit. She was like crowding Brittany a little bit on some of the stuff, like coming up too close, on moves. Just all you gotta do, just stay in the middle, and the babyface can feed to you. Everything will be fine. But yeah,
Which I think why Masha is a great like first major opponent for Alicia. As far if she's going to be the heel, Masha's the perfect baby face to help carry her through the match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should be no problem, but it's just, I mean, you don't get better at something by not doing it. So she's just got to get that back. But she's absolutely a sweetheart. I know she's been through a lot, so it's nice to see her back. But this is just a first step, so could have been a little bit better.
Over under on the reunite. They do something with her and Noam Dar down the line.
You kind of got to, right? I mean, what else has he got? They just fired the rest of his group, except for, well, they didn't fire Lash Legend, but they still split her off.
Right, and they still got 2.5 years in the deal, pal.
All right. Well, we could look for that. So, anyways, Victoria is about to get on the mic, and Masha comes out and double legs her, and they start fighting. But Tessa is immediately on her, immediately on Masha. Santino comes back out. Next week, it's going to be Tessa Blanchard and Victoria Crawfish versus Masha and a partner of her choosing. So everybody's choosing partners. And Robert Stone gets on the mic and it's like, no, we're going to pick the partner. Because, they're like some sort of oversight committee or whatever now. So he's like, we're going to pick Nikita Lyons. And the crowd, you could hear like half the crowd audibly groan when they heard Nikita Lyons. But, so that's what it is. That's what we got. All right. What else? Anything else to add on this whole thing?
This seems like this might be they're planting the seeds, or at least beginning a storyline of like promotional, inter-brand warfare. With this whole, okay, who's giving Robert Stone authority over TNA? He's in NXT. Like, how is he? Where's that coming from?
Yeah, I mean, why else would you be doing it if you weren't going towards that?
I think it's going to end up being, it's going to be, it's going to go up to the chain. It's eventually going to be The Rock. And that's what makes the most sense, right?
The Rock can't wait to be in TNA. What's The Rock doing in the Impact Zone?
To be fair, he was actually the one who inducted Ken Shamrock into the TNA Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes, I know. So afterwards, the Morellas confront Robert Stone about all the stuff he's been doing. And then Tessa Blanchard comes out and gets in Ariana's face and starts comparing their families with who's done what in this business. So there's that. All right.
Over under, we get Robert Stone and Tessa Blanchard versus Santino and Ariana.
I'll take the over, I guess, if the over means we're getting it.
I think we're getting it. It would be, I think it'd be a good attraction match.
Oh yeah.
Plus,
It's going to
special moment for
attract
father.
everybody who knows all these people.
Well, more importantly than that, in my opinion, special moment for father and daughter.
Yeah. Hey, look, it'll be something novel, I guess. Attraction, I don't know, but um, well, I don't know if this is an attraction either. It's definitely not an attraction to potential advertisers because we're now at the main event, which is the dog collar match. And you have Matt Cardona on commentary. Throughout this match, you had Mance Warner and Steph DeLander coming out to the ramp to take a look. You have Ace Austin and Elijah watching the monitor backstage, so they're trying to show you that everybody's interested in this. They have to tell you that because nobody's really interested in this. But what they did was they had a dog collar match. The match was fine. The guys worked hard, right? But the only thing that anybody's going to remember is that when Macklin got juice,
He
he
got
hit a
juiced.
gusher. He got a gusher, as they say. Which can happen from time to time. If you hit the right spot, you know, you strike oil, so to speak. We've seen it happen many times over the years, and this is no different.
Yeah, let's just say if that were oil, he'd be loading up the truck and moving up to Beverly.
Right. There was so much blood, and it got everywhere, that I'm pretty sure I did miss the part if it happened. I'm pretty sure Eric Young got color, but he probably didn't need to.
Yeah, I think it was towards the end.
Yeah, he didn't even need to because he was already covered in blood. No one could tell the difference between his blood and Macklin's blood. So right there, I'm sure he only bladed out of obligation because it's not fair that Steve is the only one that bladed. It had nothing to do. He could have called an audible, but it would have been a dick move.
Job. Sympathy blade job.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sympathy. He could not. He wasn't going to be that much of a dick. So, even though he kind of looks like a dick, but
physically not actual like oh, that guy's a dick.
Yeah, no, he looks like a penis. He looks like a human penis. Is what we're saying. So yeah, just blood everywhere. It's blood. Like you're like, how much blood? It's like, well, what was the match with Eddie Guerrero and JBL?
Oh wow. Oh, wait, was that Cena and JBL?
Well, there was definitely one where Eddie was like pouring out. I just don't remember who he was in there with. I thought it was JBL.
It might have been that one. Yeah, was it the bull rope match?
Maybe. But yeah, it was gross. I remember seeing it. I'm not like a typically queasy person, but I remember seeing the blood pouring out of Eddie Guerrero's head and getting sick looking at it. It was that bad.
Okay, I apologize. I'm actually thinking of the last man standing or the I Quit match between Cena and JBL, where like the finish was like Bradshaw was on his ass like begging off, and his entire face was just like caked and soaked in dripping blood.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like that. They basically painted everything. Both of them covered in it, the canvas. It reminded me of those old magazines, you know, the After mags, you know, when they had the black and white photos. You see like Wahoo McDaniel or whatever. I'm sure there were matches that look like that. So it wasn't so much that it was brutal. It's just it looks like a lot of blood, and people overreact to blood. They think, oh, blood. Well, it must be horrible. You know, I'm sure they're both fine. You know, it's just a lot of blood. Looks bad. It's not really that bad, but it looks bad. But it's all about how it looks. Like perception is reality. So they're not gonna want to ever look like that again. So they're gonna tell everybody, hey, no more of this. That's why it happened. This is why it happened, 100%. There's no other reasons, no matter what they say. They certainly don't care about anybody's health. Like, don't tell me you care about the wrestler's health. Just don't lie and say you care about the wrestler's health. You're booking a ladder match for Under Siege. You don't care about anybody's health. Nobody cares about anybody's health in wrestling. The blood is the safest thing. Now, they took some gross bumps in this, like toward the end when they were like pulling each other by the chain off the apron and just, they take that little flip bump, like the hip toss bump from the apron to the floor. Like, that sucks, but not that super dangerous. Just sucks, but you know what I mean? So it's like they did stuff in the match, but nothing in the match was like all that crazy. So anyway, so Bert gets the jobber stacked up in the corner and hits the caught in the crosshairs on him, and then Young hits him with the pile driver, but he kicks out, and then he eventually hits the KIA and beats Eric Young to retain his international title, if anyone cares. But nobody does, because all they're ever going to remember, if they remember this match at all, which they won't, is they'll just remember this bloodbath. Literal bloodbath. They could have bathed in it. There was that much.
So much blood, Dracula's taking leftovers home.
Blah, blah. It's a little much, fellas. All right. Well, that was your Impact episode. And now, as you may have noticed, there was no Moose or even System really anywhere on this show at all. So we were treated to an old match from Under Siege last year in its entirety. That was a nice, unexpected, get the fuck out. Why would you do that? I'm still mad at that. Why would you do that? Why are you doing that? You don't have enough content to fill a show on a taped. You did TV tapings. You did a set of tapings and you couldn't fill the time. Fuck you, Brandon. Fill the time. Tell these motherfuckers how they should have done it, please.
Oh, absolutely. So first, we're going to start off with our recap and catch-up packet.
At this point, we should just have Moose come on cold and introduce the recap, because we need to make up for a lot here. We need to give a bonus Moose, like, and now for your regularly scheduled recap. Trust the recap.
All right, you know what? We're going to call an audible on the fly right there. We're going to fix that right there. And then we get intro, pyro, and ballyhoo. Go to the announce table. Run down card for tonight. Give thoughts on recent events. In ring, Trick Williams and Joe Hendry. Trick Williams music and entrance with security. Same promos on the show. Joe Hendry music and entrance. Same pull apart is on the show. Commercial break number 1. We go backstage to Robert Stone and Victoria Crawford. Extended version of what we saw on the show, with Stone being more vivid and detailed about what he doesn't like about tonight's card and mentions what just happened with Hendry and Trick. Match number 1, Rosemary versus Lei Ying Lee. Zaya Brookside on commentary, Rosemary music and entrance, Lei Ying Lee music and entrance. Same matches on the show. Then we go to a vignette of the Team Elegance and Maggie Lee vignette. Yeah, I can't really do much of that other than just let it ride and rip the Band-Aid off. Backstage, Trick Williams, Mike Santana, Sami Callihan, first class, same as on the show, but it starts with security escorting Trick Williams to Santino's office. That's where him and Mike Santana have their little stare down as he's being during the escort. And then announcers say we'll hear from the System after the break. Commercial break number 2. We go to a vignette of the System. They talk about how doors are open and they've been recruiting across borders. Reference possible inter-brand members that are in NXT, WWE, and AAA. And we go to a rough cut of Cody Deaner. Old school TNA rough cut video with Cody Deaner telling his story. Vignette, Frankie Kazarian. He was screwed at Rebellion and has a new plan. And he wants to be a conquering king and bring other companies' belts to his kingdom. Backstage, Order 4. The members of Order 4 are looking for Mustafa Ali. A producer informs the group that they need to head to Gorilla. You go to a vignette of Rosemary. She talks about her disappointment in Zaya Brookside. She gives Zaya one last chance to come to the dark side, or she will end her. Match number 2, Great Hands versus Aztec Warriors. Aztec Warriors. Great Hands music and entrance with Tasha Steeles. Great Hands pre-match promo. Aztec Warriors music and entrance. Same matches on the show. Ali out to attack. Rascals out for save. Brawl ensues. Security out to separate everyone. Santino music and entrance. Santino says he's moving Ali versus Wentz to right now and sends everybody backstage. So that's just Wentz and Ali.
Okay.
Commercial break number 3. Mustafa Ali versus Zachary Wentz. One-on-one
So
match.
not Trey Miguel. We're taking Trey Miguel out of the match and putting Zachary Wentz in? Is that a choice?
Strike that, reverse it.
Okay.
I totally forgot which one was in that match.
I'm just making sure, because maybe you don't like Trey Miguel in this match. You know,
no, I apologize.
You put young Hitler in there.
No, I apologize. That's how forgettable. Dude,
okay, you said it. You said
that's how bad the show was. I totally forgot who was who.
Gotcha.
Okay, so yeah, replace Zachary Wentz with Trey Miguel. One-on-one match with Ali, working heat, about 65% of match. Ali over Dirty. Then we go to the TNA flashback of Mustafa Ali versus Ace Austin, which is just a 1-minute package. Pre-tape, Steve Macklin. Vignette, Indy Hartwell. Same as on the show. Then we go to the in-ring. Hardy's and then with Santino, same as on the show. Backstage, Victoria Crawford and Robert Stone. Victoria and Robert discuss how Victoria is going to shine in the news they have for after the match. Commercial break number 4. Match number 4, Victoria Crawford versus Brittany Brooks. Victoria Crawford music and entrance with Robert Stone. Same matches on the show. Same post matches on the show with Masha, Tessa, and Santino coming out. Robert mentions that he's got connections and stroke, so that's why he's able to pick Masha's partner. Earlier this evening, Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, Santino Marella. Short recap of opening segment, and then footage that was shot in between the present time and after the opening segment in Santino's office, where he and Ariana make the decree that if either Trick Williams or Joe Hendry touch before Battleground, Hendry will be stripped of the title, and Trick Williams will never get a shot at either the NXT Championship or TNA World Championship again. Backstage, we go to Santino Marella, Ariana Grace, Robert Stone, Victoria Crawford, Tessa Blanchard. Same as we got on the show. Video package, Steve Macklin, Eric Young storyline. Brief package summarizing the backstory that ends with the announcers hyping it up next. Commercial break number 5. New Japan hype video, announce table, rundown card, current Under Siege card, rundown card for next week. Match number 5, dog collar match for International Championship. Steve Macklin versus Eric Young. Eric Young music and entrance with Northern Armory. Steve Macklin music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show. Same finish with Macklin over Strong. But that's not where we end the show. The final minute of the show, we go to the parking lot where Joe Hendry's walking to his car. He gets jumped and laid out by somebody who's completely covered, like head to toe. You can't see anything about this guy. You can't even see like anything about him. So you can't deduce eliminate by can't play guess who on race on that. Let's put it that way.
He's wearing a sumo suit. You can't tell how exactly big he is, or she is.
And then Joe is left laying in the parking lot as the show goes off the air.
My goodness. The intrigue.
The insinuation is you think it's Trick Williams. The swerve is it's not Elijah, it's Elias.
That's right. This is your show. You could do anything you want.
I mean, if all these doors are open to all these different universes, I mean, why not use it to its advantage?
Yeah, we're just gonna have Rosemary out here with brass knuckles. Why not just make Elias 2 people again?
I hate liars. Or if Kevin Owens, even have Kevin Owens come out and go, I was right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then people have signs. Kevin Owens was right. Yeah. You can even have neck braces that say Kevin Owens was right. Oh. Well, guys, here's all I could tell you. You were right to join us on this lovely Monday evening. So thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate you all. Hope we entertained you. I hope TNA learned something. I hope GCW knows they sidestepped a promo tonight. But basically, we've done all we can for now, and we'll just have to meet you again next week at around this same time. Until then, we'll tell you where you can find us. Brandon, you're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, this is actually probably the slower week this week. Next week, that's going to be the crazy one.
Okay. Well, let's enjoy the mellow week then. What do we have coming up?
So yeah, what we got going on this week? Well, you can always catch me on Twitter, or as kids call it these days, the X, at twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop. I am also on Twitch at twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop Whoop. Guaranteed every Wednesday, sporadically throughout the week. But tomorrow night, we have the late start watch along for NXT right after the A show goes off the air. Wednesday, of course, AEW Dynamite watch along and belt count. Thursday, TNA Impact watch along. Friday, SmackDown watch along. Saturday and Sunday, dual HMG After Dark.
What do we got on that? Anything yet, or not decided?
I think we'll do Lucha Underground for one. Continue that, because that's been fun. And then, you know what? I think we'll hop over to Shorzy.
Shorzy, eh? All right.
Give your balls a tug, you tit fucker.
I wish I could tell you I got that reference. Actually, I don't. I don't wish that. I'm happy I don't. But, so that's what we got going on there. As far as me, you can find me at Opinion Haver everywhere. You can find me on HMG everywhere. Not everywhere. Sometimes you can find me on the Raw Watch Along. Sometimes you can find me on, I Like It Raw if ever I have to pop in there, here or there. But you could certainly find me every Monday night here, as you have, and you can also find me every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for the Next Level Wrestling Review of Big Ray Hernandez. Talk about NXT. They're not using as much TNA people. TNA's definitely using the NXT people right now. It's a little bit one-sided, but we'll see what's going on here. Joe Hendry doesn't count, as TNA usage. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. You could hear Jimmy and me talk about AEW every week on The Wreckage, every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern as well. You can check out Wrestling with Rogers every Friday. Their concrete time of whenever. Rip's been in Las Vegas, so the technical difficulties have been entertaining in and of themselves, with him trying to figure out how all these things work on a cell phone in a hotel. And you can check out Stevie Richards every Friday, who's the opposite of that. He's got his technical stuff so on point that what did he say on last week's episode? That he said that Big Sal told him, like,
16K cam?
Yeah, buy a 16K thing that doesn't even exist, but Stevie thought it did exist because he's just that into his tech. So yeah, his only issue is that there's too much tech. His studio's better set up for broadcasting than TNA is, so that's not going to be an issue there. They have a high quality program, and you should always be checking that out. Check out Limpin' Ain't Easy with Timmy Baltimore. Just had Tiffany Nieves on his La Princesa on his latest episode, and he's got probably a bunch more stuff lined up, and I've been trying to line something up with Timmy, so let's keep our eyes peeled on that. But I don't want to advertise and not deliver, so I'll just tease it and leave it there. As far as teasing, if you guys want, once again, twitch.tv, at Opinion Haver everywhere, that includes Twitch. I'll be playing Doom the Dark Ages pretty soon. I don't know exactly when. I need some time. I got to take care of a couple things, but I'll be hopping on later, so Brandon will probably be about done with the watch along, or at least still in the middle. But if you want to hang out a little bit more tonight, do a little late night demon killing, maybe we'll see Rosemary. Who knows? Don't know. Maybe I'll have brass knuckles. I don't know. You'll just have to tune in to see. At Opinion Haver. So, with that being said, I think that's all we have. And Brandon will be continuing the watch along very soon. And
10 minutes, pal.
and for Brandon, I am the vet, and I don't have a sign off line.